Oh, I have just had the most stressful 72 hours of my entire life. And you can probably tell I've not been sleeping. I want to report this story to you because it could happen to anyone. It could happen to any person that you're buying a car from, small franchise, large franchise, or even a small independent like me. This is how I almost sold a £36,000 Kia EV6 that had the most dodgy checkered history ever, and I was completely unaware. So let's take it back to day one, because where I'm sat here is day one. So I logged on my computer as normal and started searching for vehicles that we always do. So went to a well-known auction company that we've bought vehicles off in the past, buy a few vehicles off, and in there they had a sale from a well-known vendor that buy almost any car, and that vendor had a Kia EV6 GT for sale. Now, I've really wanted to get my hands on one of these personally. I really want to drive one, so I thought, let's have a look at it. So I looked at the details of it. It had a clean mechanical bill of health. It had no decorations of any sort of stuff that we need to be aware of made on the listing. It was a black car. It was grade 2, which means it's got a couple of marks on it. There was a small little paint issue on one of the rear doors, which could be anything from a poor localised scratch to just poor manufacturer paint, and the auctioneer checker was just a bit overcautious. So, but nothing on there that, you know, sung alarm bells at me. But it did have 3 owners, but that could be that first person was a pre-reg, second person was a person who owned it and was like, oh my God, this is too fast, I'm going to lose my driving licence. And then the third person, you know, maybe the same, or couldn't afford to put the payments. It happens, I see it a lot in the car trade. You know, 3 owners is high for such a young car, but nothing scary. And I thought, well, they could have sold it because they thought it had a fault. But it wasn't due its first service, so there was going to be no problem getting any faults fixed under warranty. So nothing that really overly all concerned me when bidding on this car. Now a few days pass and I see they've won the car. Brilliant. They send me an invoice and I have the invoice plus the fees. So on top of this, there was £1,000 worth of fees to be paid to the auction company. Now in those fees, we're paying stuff like check fees for checking the mechanical stuff, but also we're paying fees for covering like car checks, making sure that the car is genuine, it's not stolen, written off. All that stuff is supposed to be included in the fee that we pay to the auction company. They're supposed to have checked the car, the VIN numbers, gone through the car as if, you know, they should do. So we pay the fees, we pay the car fees, we pay the delivery fee, and we get the car delivered. Then I get the car valeted by our valeter, and we look at the door, and it's not that bad. It's a bit bubbly, but it's nothing out of the ordinary. You know, it's not awful. I've seen way worse paint jobs than that on the door. And then we get the photos done. In the meantime, I'm quickly talking to 2 friends who are really interested in buying this Kia EV GT6, and one of them is hopefully coming up in 3 or 4 days to come and look at the car and buy the car. And then I go home and just started looking after my kids who weren't too well at the time, and 7 p.m. comes around and my phone starts pinging. Constant messages on the Kia, loads of inquiries. Then I'm getting tagged in Facebook post after Facebook post, and I thought something is going on. So I saw the post on Facebook and I was like, that's a red car. Mine's a black car. It's not the same. It's not the same car. And then I read the post and it said the car's had a colour change and it was involved in this serious accident, but it could also have been a black stolen car, and then the identity of this red one, because the insurance was unrecorded, was transferred onto the identity of a black car, and therefore I've currently got a stolen car sat in my showroom and not a red car that's been written off and repaired. So I wasn't at work. It was late at night. I was dealing with my kids who weren't well, so I was talking to a good friend of mine who's a franchise dealer. Sent him this because I was starting to panic. I was starting to worry. I was like, oh my God, you know, what the fucking hell's the point of paying £1,000 indemnity to an insurance company, to an auction company, if they're not going to run the checks I pay them for? So he ran a HPI check on his computer because he had access to his work HPI check, and it came back clear. Apart from it had a colour change listed. Now I did not know about a colour change. It wasn't told or listed to me when I bought the car. It was not told to me at the time. So first alarm bell went off, but there was nothing on the insurance database to say this had been in a claim, this has been in an accident. Nothing showing up. Okay. Now this is the important thing. Nothing showing up. So if you're buying a car based on one car check, bear in mind that that car check is only as good as the data that they get provided. That is the worry here. So I drove up to the showroom immediately. I wanted to know, was this a black stolen car? Or is this a red car that's been repainted and resprayed? Popped the bonnet, popped all the door shuts. I looked hard. Couldn't see anything that was obviously a red car. But there was quite a lot of paint in paint places that you don't normally see under a bonnet. Now, to be fair, I wouldn't have normally noticed this, just generally checking a car, because I wasn't suspicious. But now I was suspicious. I was looking at this car a lot harder than you'd ever look at a car. And there was just bits now that were starting to go. So I then started to open up all the seals on all the doors, and on the seals you could see a bit of red, but that could be primer. So then I decided to absolutely demolish the boot, take the boot completely apart, all the plastic panels out, and I was now 100% convinced that this was a red car that had been in a serious fucking accident and been repaired, and both the airbags went off. Now, the worry is not the fact that, you know, it's damaged my reputation. It's not the fact that I paid £1,000 in indemnity fees for all this to be checked for me. It's the fact that I could have sold this to my mate with kids. He's got a kid, and his wife could have all been out in the car. They could have had an accident, and the airbags, even though this car looks like it's been, you know, repaired very, very well. How do I know that they've put airbags back in? How do I know that they've done it properly, fully? How do I fully know? He could have had an accident. This car could have killed him, his kid, his wife, and then we could have found out it was been in a serious accident before. That's the worry, you know, not the fact that anything else. It's the fact that I could have sold this to a mate. So, you know, I spoke to the guy who runs the Facebook page who said this, and he's like, you know, most dealers get really angry with me, and you've been really polite. I honestly think that he's doing a service and pointing this out, because if I can get dubbed by this, anyone can. So then we decided to run another check. So we have access to another company that do vehicle checks, very similar to HPI. There's multiple companies that do car vehicle history checks. We ran it through that one, and it came back with the colour change, a mileage discrepancy, and all the accident photos from when this was a red car. So after getting home, 9 p.m. at night, I didn't sleep, as you can probably imagine. I wrote an email to the auction company at 9 o'clock at night, basically saying, you've sold me a car that was in an accident and not reported. You've sold me a car that had a colour change. You didn't report that. And it's had a mileage odometer mess around with. I don't think that's fully true. I think that's just the way it's recorded incorrectly. But still, I don't give a crap. I need as much ammunition. I'm currently sat on a 30 grand car that I might not get my money back for. I could be 30 grand in the pan, a vehicle I will not sell to a customer. What do I do with a 30 grand car? And I can't sell this car to somebody and not tell them what I know. So either sell it to another dealer or trade it or put it in an auction. I know what's gone wrong with this car. I can't not disclose that. I have to disclose it, you know. So I need to go. I paid indemnity fees. I paid £1,000. I was lied to. I was misrepresented. I want my money back. So I emailed them at 9 o'clock at night. I asked a couple of car dealers on a car dealer forum on Facebook for advice. One of them put me at ease, but it still didn't help me sleep. I had the roughest night's sleep I have ever had, and I've got 2 young kids. Yeah, it was a rough night. I wake up in the morning and I've got a load of fake reviews on Facebook of people basically saying that I'm trying to sell dodgy cars deliberately. And I'm hiding history of stuff, which is completely untrue. As soon as I found out the car went off sale, there's no way I'd sell this to anybody. Now, it's important that we take a note of the reg. LF24VNT. Take a note of that, because it might reappear. And if it reappears, you need to remember that reg, because it might be black today, but it might go back to red. So to bear that in mind. But yeah, I rang the auction company. They told me they'd get around to my claim. They're dealing with other people's emails and claims at the moment. So still stressed. At 4 p.m. I rang them again. I can't have another sleepless night, so...
Yeah, no, I completely understand that, and I really do apologise that you're going through this. What they're doing, the branch are waiting for the vendor to get back to them, and then as soon as they've got an update from the vendor, they're going to come back to you with some sort of update, but they haven't put what that update on here is. Are you looking to return the vehicle and get a full refund? Yeah, I thought you would. They will get it sorted for you, but obviously I think they just need to clarify a few things with the vendor first of all, because obviously they've not told the whole story when they've sold the car.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I'll be honest, forgetting the accident part for a second, I wouldn't have bought it based on the colour change.
Okay, yeah.
So, you know, if it said colour change, I wouldn't have bought it.
Yeah.
So that wasn't declared. And then obviously the accidents, you know, unrecorded accident damage category car. I certainly wouldn't have bought a category car, but I wouldn't have even bought the colour change. Now I'm smiling, and that's because I'm happy. I've had an email off the auction company to say, would you like us to pick the car up? We accept that, you know, the vendors accepted they'll give you a refund. That's very nice of them. After selling me a written off car, we had a colour change that they didn't tell us about, that also, by the looks of it, also has some dodgy mileage as well. But yeah, that was nice of them to accept that they're going to give me a refund after selling me something with checkered history. So I'm here at the auction. I've decided I'm not waiting for them to pick it up. I'm going to drop it off. So that's what I'm doing now. Lock the car. And I'm going to go in their office now and drop it off. Now the question is, I'm going to get a refund for the car, but what about my history of my business? What about my reputation? What about the reviews that have been left? Will they compensate me? Will they bugger? No. They'll just promise not to blacklist me from buying any more cars that they might sell me dodgy again in the future. Yeah, great, thanks. Now the question is, what happens to this car now? Do they resell it again and not tell the next buyer? Or do they, I don't know, does it just disappear? Stay tuned to this video to find out if I see it reappear back in another auction. Thanks very much for watching this video. Hope it's been a start warning that even if you're a car dealer and you're buying from an auction that's trusted, that this can happen to you. Do extra checks, don't just rely on one check, do 2 checks, do 3 checks. In fact, I was going to recommend a company to do checks for, to check on their check, and their checks didn't come up with it either. So, you know, buyers beware.